that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 8 of this season, coming today from Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. When you think of motorsports and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you think of the 2.5-mile oval. Not exactly the 2.5-mile road course, although this has been a site of some pretty interesting events over the years, from Formula One, its original purpose from the year 2000 up until 2007, NASCAR briefly running here on the road course in the early 2020s, and IndyCar that's run here every single month of May since 2014. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course has a surprisingly lengthy history, despite the fact it's only been around the past 25, 26 years. Charles, this is a racetrack that I think is kind of, it's one that people, I usually say like a Marmite style track where people love it or hate it. This racetrack is kind of like cranked up the hatred just a little bit. People either absolutely despise it or find it to be just okay.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. For one thing, they're running the wrong direction. Let's just get this out of the way right off the start. They're going backwards. But Well, once again, this is a pretty good course. It's a good road course. As rovals go, it's pretty flat. Obviously, no elevation, but some pretty difficult corners to try and get a car around. It doesn't matter what car it is. I've ran here in GT3s and GT4s. These cars are not going to be any different. Obviously, they've kind of put some chicanes in there as we're watching there with Adam Bradshaw Jr. working his way through. It's one of those that you either like it or you hate it, and or you love it or you hate it. And I think I'm in the it's one of those that I'm saying it's a good track. It's not a great track, but we're at Indy, so that adds the prestige to it. So anytime you can get a win at Indy, that is something to add to your resume.
Yeah, Indianapolis, for various reasons, me being an IndyCar history nerd, just being a racing history nerd, period, I love this place. Got the opportunity to go here for the first time back in 2016. Got to visit a few times afterwards, never for any actual races, although I think that a Indy 500 trip is certainly in my future. Need to go out here. Need to also go and see the new refurbished museum. They changed that a couple of years ago. Completely overhauled it, and I've heard very, very good things about the museum. But expecting to have some fun here in this races track. As you said, Charles, in the grander scheme of many rovals that some of which are... abominations is a strong word, but abominations is an accurate word. If you've looked at the Kansas Motor Speedway road course, that track sends me into fight or flight every single time I see it. This track, though, it's got a little bit of funky character to it. I think I like it. The chicane is in the midfield a bit iffy, but we'll be able to talk about this racetrack at length a little bit later on here in this show. Before we get too lost up into this, we want to thank Sim Racers Group for sponsoring this broadcast here with the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, as they did with the Formula Fords earlier on. And before we get too lost into qualifying, let's take a look at your championship points. Nathaniel Schramm is your current championship points leader in the Spec 1 category, still comfortably ahead of Jason Green in P2. Dirk Braun is a little bit farther back in third. He's had a close margin for a while, but now that is really starting to get tight between himself and Aleix Bleva. Only about 20 points between those drivers as we get towards the end of this season. Marco Pinero completes your top 5. You can see the rest of the drivers lined up in due course there. Let's take a look now at Spec 2, where Phil Berry is their championship points leader there. This category has been, capital T tight. You got Phil Berry at 455 points, and then Hugh Simpkins at 441. Super tight margins here, 14 points the gap after 7 races. That is insanity. Our very own Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who, after reporting to me that he had 3 hours of sleep, had to get some shut-eye in during the Formula Ford show, which is the reason why I was on that broadcast earlier today. He is third at the moment, looking to make some inroads in the points. He's always felt good about his chances here at this racetrack. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him. Paul Jackson and Jeff Jacobson complete your top 5. Charles, how about you run us through the Masters points?
Yeah, Antonio Reese with a very comfortable lead in the Masters class, 486 points to 393 for Chris Thorpe. But once it tightens up a little more with Tom Gradwell sitting there in third, only about 30 points or so back, 29 I think is accurate number. Brad Cathcart in fourth. Chris Murakami rounds out your top 5. And then a host of other drivers in there as well. So Antonio starting to kind of stretch that gap a little bit. As far as the points go, and I'm just kind of looking down the list here. It just kind of top 10 all Spec 1s. We've got 2 Spec 2 drivers, then followed by 3 Masters. So that tells me that normally when you have a more difficult track, and we'll get to our onboard lap here with Phil Berry as we're making our run down into turn 1 for the first time. As we're going to run down here, you see you get a good draft here off this front straight. Should be able to keep the pack tight for a little while as we make our way through 1, then switch back into 2, and then we're going to loop around to the right, pretty open corner that tightens up ever so slightly into 4, makes that a nice 90-degree right. Then we've got our chicane here, pretty much going to be flat out, lots of room to run wide if you need to. As we get another little secondary straightaway here, we can call this the back straight, but another good drafting opportunity here into a hard braking zone. for turn 6. This left-hander, very difficult to get the car right for whatever reason through here. You just feel like you're bleeding speed the entire time through 7, 8, and 9. As we work our way around here, we're going to jump back up on the oval here as we run around. It's going to be a little short jaunt here up onto the oval out of 9. And this, I guess we're going to call this, I don't know if that's 10 or not, but we'll say this is turn 10 here. Another hard 9-degree right-hander. As you see, one of the cars in front kind of lost the rhythm there and had to take the wide line around to 11. Another difficult set of corners here, 11 and 12. But this is the run back, and this is where you start building your speed to back for the front stretch. And that's going to complete the lap here for Phil Berry, currently sitting in 19th. Let's see if that draft helped him out a little bit. As he crosses the start-finish line and see where he jumps. He moves up one position up into 18th. Marginal gains there. But just looking at the board here, it kind of looks like it's one of these. We're in a situation where no Masters advantage, no Spec 2 advantage, because it's just a little used track. We haven't really raced here before, I don't think, or at least not in my 3-year memory here of the Weekend Warriors. I don't think we've ever put a car around here. So a little bit of learning going on for our Masters and for our Spec 2 drivers as well.
Yeah, so this will be a slight venture off into the unknown. Of course, I mentioned the pedigree of this road course, and didn't even mention the fact that the SCCA runoffs on a handful of occasions have been held here, and we've also gotten to see a couple of Ray Esports events over the years. I distinctly remember the Ray Esports Tuesday night runoffs as that's a pitfalls with turn number 7. We'll talk about that here in a few moments' time. Perfect segue. But this track has played host to some Ray Esports events in the past. I think the Spec Racer Fords have maybe driven here back in the old Tuesday night league, and maybe here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League that you can catch funds depending on Wednesday nights here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, along with our usual slot of Sim Racers group action on those nights as well. But this track is really it's unique in the realm of road courses, because when you think about Formula One here, it's odd. They've run on both layouts. They, of course, ran the Indy 500 as part of the Formula One World Championship from 1950 until 1960, which sidecar from that, slight morbid sidecar, but a sidecar nonetheless, realized that it's still the deadliest F1 track in history, even though it was a part of the F1 calendar for just 1 decade and 1 decade alone. Just so happened to be in one of the most unsafe and hazardous eras in the history of racing, period. But they ran on the road course, and you can tell that this track is really more tuned into like a European-esque road course. Whenever IndyCar comes around here, Christian Lundgaard, spoiler alert, the winner of the Indy Grand Prix yesterday, actually made his debut here back in 2021 and damn near finished on the podium in his first ever race. Whenever a European driver comes to this racetrack, they usually take to it like a duck to water. So maybe gonna see that go down here. Of course, have multinational field drivers representing all different corners of the globe: Australians, Americans, Europeans, people representing South America as well. Wonderful tight-knit community that we've got here in the Weekend Warriors, but one that will have various thoughts on this racetrack, and it's part of the reason why we've currently got a European 1-2 with Marco Pinero, the Italian, in front of Jake Williams from Wales, completing your front row with the checkered flag out now here in qualifying. Getting into crunch time, waiting to see who can set the good lap times, who can jump their way up right at the end when there's no opportunity to fight back.
Yep, as we're in to quali overtime here, everybody's getting their last laps in. We'll see if there's any jumps here as we round out these final corners. I think these guys are probably just kind of on a pace lap or a cool down lap as we're already a minute and a half in. This might be a legit lap. So we're looking here 1:36. So yeah, he's gonna be pretty close to that, and we'll see if that changes our board at all. Does not. Brad Cathcart with a P24, and then Hugh Simpkins up to P9. So nice jump by Hughes there at the very end of the qualifying session. Jumps up into the top 10. So we got some Spec 2 guys that are starting to figure this out. So they're up into our top 10. And the Masters guys maybe not doing as much. But, it's qualifying is one thing, racing something else. So once we get down to brass tacks here, we'll see how who's got the real pace here out on this track today.
Yeah, who can bring the heat here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, a track that may be about as flat as a pancake. Hey, I mentioned Kansas earlier on, so I guess there is some fittingness in all of that. It is going to be super duper fun. Just drivers waiting to complete their qualifying session. Looking out for it right now. A few more cars left out there on the circuit, but take a quick little gander at the track temperatures heading off into this race, because that's been a bit of a continual problem throughout this season. Track temperature is pretty much perfect at the moment here at the end of this qualifying session, 80 degrees Fahrenheit at the end of there, and as we head off into the race session, I think we'll probably be around there too. But let's take a look at our starting grid here for round number 8 of this season. It's going to be Marco Pinero starting from the pole. Jake Williams going to join him on the front row. Dirk Braun will start this race in third, next to Sulal Shutwi completing row 2. Row 3, we'll see Aleix Pleva next to Nathaniel Schramm. Our Spec 2 pole sitter, our very own Mr. Joshua Wilkie, will start this race in 7th in the 777 car, next to Scott Russell in 8th. Hugh Simpkins will start this race in 9th with Adam Bradshaw Jr., probably a career best starting spot for him here in this race, completing your overall top 10.
Yeah, Josh Justice is going to start in P11. Jason Green starts in 12th. As we scroll, Antonio Reese, our Masters class pole sitter, starting in 13th. Steve Saunders outside of row 7 in 14th. Brandon Roseborough starts in 15th. Rich Meesters in 16th. Adam Bradshaw 17th. Phil Berry in 18th. Chris Thorpe starting in 19th. 20th is Joaquin Nosbeck. As we finish off the grid, John Vogel starts in 21st. 22nd is Marcus Burkett. Jason Dunnington starting in 23rd. Brad Cathcart 24th. Diego Todeschini starting in 25th. And Paul Jackson rounds out your 26 car starting grid.
So there it is, 26 drivers set to grab the green flag here in a few moments. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and once again would like to thank the Sim Racers Group for sponsoring this broadcast here today. If you're interested on putting your name or your company's name on the Weekend Warriors action that we have here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, you can by joining the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server. Getting in contact with any of us here, we'll put you in contact with Stevie Ray to make this amazing racing action possible week in and week out here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We have one of the best communities in all of esports, and we truly appreciate the support from the drivers and fans alike that make these races and these shows possible. Waiting for the starting grid to fully roll. Here it is. Pace lap underway. A short pace lap heading down to turn number 7, which, as we saw there, a little sneak preview, an hors d'oeuvre, shall we say, Charles. That is going to be just a pit to hell for these drivers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Turn 1 is going to be dramatic here, I think, at the start of the race. As the tires get up to temp, you're going to see probably lots of lockups getting down into the first corner, and then trying to get everybody sorting themselves out. Like I said, there's a couple good drafting zones here that's going to keep the pack tighter than we're used to seeing. So we'll see how everything shakes out here as we're coming around the final corner, getting ready to start this race.
We may be going down the wrong way down this start-finish straightaway and around this racetrack altogether, but we are going to have a lot of fun here for round number 8 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior season. Drivers desperately trying to get those tires up to temp before we grab that green flag. It's a long, never-ending run down into the turn. You know how I said that the track temperatures were looking good at about 80 degrees Fahrenheit at the end of qualifying? You can take that, run it through a shredder, and then run that shredder through a wood chipper, because we're currently looking at 95 for the track temp. That is insane. These drivers going to be feeling the burn in more ways than one here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Don't talk about tire failures. Don't want any 2005 or 2008 memories. Those who will remember both of those stories will remember why we don't talk about it. Set to grab the green flag here in a couple of moments. Time for round number 8 of this season. The green flag flies. The drivers are meant to be on their way, but it's a slow and sluggish start for your front runners, stacking up the field behind. Marco Pinero getting chewed up and spat at as they head their way across the stripe, heading down into turn number 1. He's still alongside. Going to be on the inside approach, heading into the first braking zone of the lap. This is a bottleneck, the bottleneck to end all bottlenecks. You can go 3 wide on entry, but it doesn't work on exit. Contact made and a huge stack up. Dirk Braun gets sent around. More drivers piling in and scrambling around the pack, and it's still not over. That's Josh Wilkie around. He's around through turn number 2. Aleix Pleva popping a wheelie over the back of Paul Jackson, and that's exactly what turn 1 gives here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Hey, if you're a race car fabricator and your team is running here at this track, hope you enjoy a steak dinner, because you'll be able to have 10 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just that's part and parcel. If you watched the Indy race yesterday, that's exactly what they did. So it doesn't surprise me that we had an incident there on the first lap, going down. It was still 2 and 3 wide, coming down into turn number 5 or 6 there. So it's just part and parcel of this road course that you're going to have that, and it has opened up the pack just a little bit. We've got a nice looks like maybe 4-car group up front. Yeah, 4 cars indeed, as those cars have kind of checked out just a little bit from all the incidents behind, as my SDK just is all kind of messed up right now. So as I'm kind of watching there, see another little lockup. I think that was Scott Russell making the run down off of the oval. And back to the front here, Marco Panero in the lead, Chris Thorpe, Jake Williams, Nate Schramm, Solal Shutwee, your top 4.
Yeah, and so as we keep our eyes locked on your front runners heading down to turn number 1 for the second time, we saw Josh Justice with the optional air conditioning modification here in the Spec Racer Fords. He'll be feeling cool around this racetrack, but he's not going to be feeling fast. I can tell you that with confidence. Looking at the field heading their way into the turn, there is Josh Justice, overshoots it a bit. Going to have to rejoin the racetrack. It is such a sketchy moment there, because you can see the bottlenecking effect that goes on. I mean, we saw it get put on full display on lap 1, but even there, as Justice tried to rejoin, nothing that he really did wrong there, and he nearly wiped out Dirk Braun in the process. If there was any section of this racetrack that I think needs a complete overhaul, it is turn 1, because that area, it is almost willfully designed to cause chaos, carnage, death, destruction, chaos, and hell, which is quite odd considering that it was built by Formula One back in the year 2000, even before they decided to throw all racing etiquette aside and just focus on the show more than anything else. Side-by-side battling, heading off into turn number 7. Drivers looking to get the moves done, but as you pointed out 1 lap ago, Charles, this field spread out like a piece of melted butter on some nice sourdough bread. As we take a look at some of those start shenanigans and the big stack up, that was kind of the first domino being knocked down in many that had to fall over for that incident to take place into 1.
Yeah, as I'm kind of watching the replay, and I'm not sure that my replay is working correctly, but you're seeing 3 wide on the run down into turn 1, and Marco Panero just didn't get quite a good jump, and left Jake Williams there on the outside. Saw another car further out, trying to make it 3 wide, and then just that riding that curb. That's you get on that curb, and you see the contact there between, I think that's Jason Green and Josh Wilkie. So curb strikes, obviously a problem here. These cars are okay on some of the smaller curbs, but those big sausage curbs they do not like at all. And you saw the result, kicked them back into the track, and there was already 4 wide trying to make their way through turn 1. And there was the result of some very, very bad curb strikes there at the beginning of the race. As we're back up to the front here with Panero and Williams, Schramm, Al-Shutwi, and then Adam Bradshaw Jr. got all through that. He's up to P5 already, so having a great start to his race, and Antonio Reese as well up to P6, up 7 positions already. So you see what the carnage has already brought on. As we're going to get another replay here. This is Phil Berry, and that is, I think, Rich Meesters just behind, coming down to the inside, and is going to try and make that pass around, and gets it almost, just as he got back on throttle, maybe too much steering input, and around the car goes. Luckily, nobody made contact, so able to, he's going to fall back to the back and have to do a little bit of work to move back up forward. Obviously, looking down at the bottom of the field there, Rosenborough, and Steve Saunders, Joaquin Osbeck, looks like they're out of the race. Maybe Saunders, is still running, but I think Roseborough has called it a day already.
Yeah, so an unlucky start for many. One person I gotta say that has gone out of this opening few laps clean is Joaquin Osbeck, who didn't even take the start. That kind of shows you the way that Indy road course races usually go. As Marco Panero still leading over Jake Williams, your top 2 running in the exact same spot that they started in. Antonio Reese now into trouble. You can see him spun there in the back, a shot heading his way off through turn number 1. Let's load up the replay to see what happened here to Mickey Onyo. He was running right behind Adam Bradshaw Jr. at the time. Goes for the lunge heading off into turn number 1. Now, once again, it's the braking zone through here that's so brutal. And there he continues, just overcooked it. Eventually, that back end was going to respond with the front end. What what the front wanted to finally do, the rear end decides to crank it up even more, as I think the incidents did not end there. We take a look at some of those drivers who were the first to arrive at the scene of that accident. I think John Vogel may have gone into some trouble, seeing a meatball flag for Rich Meesters. Oh,
ooh, side by side. Yeah, and that's just John Vogel around. Oh, I think that was Brad Cathcart, and trying to see who the other were back there. But Cathcart, obviously, major contact there with Vogel as he was trying to work his way through. So more carnage has ensued, and Vogel with the meatball flag have to come in and serve that and get his car repaired pretty quickly. Luckily, I think if he runs it out, is able to keep up the pace a little bit, he could probably get to the pit cycle open, which is going to be a little after the 10-minute mark. So he should be able to get one stop only, get his car repaired, get his fuel, and get back out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there for the falling anvils and John Vogel picking up that black flag, well, not the black flag, the meatball flag there. I think he probably could have held his brakes, but again, it's split-second decisions going on here behind the wheel. We can say only so much here from our perspective in this cool and air-conditioned broadcast booth. These drivers in the heat of the moment behind the wheel making those split-second decisions, as that's Dirk Braun. That's the problem. It's a jump scare for everybody. The drivers, it's a jump scare for sure when they see a car stop there on the racing surface. And even for us broadcasters panning over, I saw him dropping down. I was like, okay, something may have gone down here. As it turns out, something did. That nearly wiped out 3 cars there. As you can see, Adam Bradshaw giving a big bump draft there to Jason Green, who it's on the outside of Dirk Braun when Braun snapped around sideways and everybody else trying to fan out there. You know, the last time I got the opportunity to cover a race at Indianapolis was on the Oval. It was NASCAR Next Gen cars, and that specific league runs a Porsche GT3 car that they put on the start-finish straightaway as a choose cone. It's painted in bright orange. Funny little idea. That pace car, that Porsche choose cone was hit twice by the leaders.
Wow. Yeah, it's. I think we're seeing a trend here. I think you're gonna have to get your move done and get back in line. I don't think the inside line's working really well going into turn 1. So I think these drivers are gonna have to make that adjustment and say, look, okay, I've either got to get the pass made on the straightaway, or I've got to wait and try and get a run on that second straight. But it seems like that inside the line, everybody's just struggling trying to make that corner work from the inside there. As we're getting a good look there, as we got Dirk Braun giving a little bit of push to Marcus Burkett there. So doing a little bump drafting, trying to close the gap down to the cars in front. As we get another run here, another launch down into the inside. Let's see how Mr. Wilkie does there. I think he's got that car working pretty well at this point. So nice move. As we see another car around in turn 1, and that is Todeschini around. So we're going to see what happens to him as we get the replay here, the run down in. So nice little, and let's see, just carry too much speed. I think maybe try to downshift and get the car to help him get the car slowed down, and just probably maybe a diff lock or just a major brake lock up there going down. But obviously, way too much speed going down in that corner.
You know, there are a multitude of reasons why turn 1 and 2 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course is tough. I would say one that often gets overlooked outside the bottlenecking is the odd and peculiar run that you have to go through. I said that this track was flat as a pancake, which still is true. The oval is pretty flat as well. You know, it was built in the 1900s. You can't be too surprised that doesn't have 23-degree banks. The only tracks that had like high banks back in that day were the ones made out of plywood. But here at this track, there is still a little bit of banking, even heading down the straightaways. So when you're coming off of the banking, off the oval, heading down into the infield, there is a little bit of elevation change, which makes it real tricky to nail down the braking zone and real tricky just to go through that turn altogether, because the grip is changing on you and changing quite heavily. So we see side-by-side battling here, heading into turn number 1. That is Josh Wilkie, Scott Russell, Josh Justice, and Dirk Braun Justice still holding his own, even with that front end completely gone off of that race car. You know, this isn't the most straight line heavy racetrack in the world, but even with that being said, I'm not sure what sort of rocket fuel or nitrous or whatever is going on with Josh Justice's fuel tank, but he's still keeping speed.
Yeah, he's just basically running behind Scott Russell and just using him to kind of cover the nose, and that way it keeps his pace at least similar to Scott, as we see Dirk Braun there now making the move around Russell. And we'll see if Justice hangs with Scott or picks a faster guy to run with. But you see Scott dropping down the order just a bit. Don't know if he's got maybe some damage as well, maybe some internals. But obviously saw him run wide there coming out of that corner, which is pretty easy to do. Just trying to get back on the power, and just a little too early there, as I believe Justice is still riding behind him, and they got Marcus Birkin in tow as well.
It was fast lap of the race there for Sul Al-Shutwi. Over the past couple of weeks, we've seen Sul really run okay in these races. He's gotten some good results, including a podium a couple of weeks ago, if my memory serves me correctly, which I do have the mental aptitude of a senile earthworm, so they may not be totally accurate. However, Al-Shutwi, we know him to be a very quick contender, past winner here in these cars. He's going to be fast. I'm certainly keeping my eye on him. Rear gunner of that top 4 pack right now, just running through this race as methodically as you possibly can. You know, I rarely, if ever, bring this up, because when I got into this broadcasting stuff, I promised I would not use it as a means of self-promotion, but I have been going down a rabbit hole of talking about every single 4-time Indy 500 winner. Made a video about AJ Foyt and Al Unser. Next one's Rick Mears I started on today. Rick Mears went about his Indy 500 and his IndyCar career period in a highly methodical and calculated way. When it comes to this road course, you kind of have to go about it with the exact same sort of fine hand. You've got to be really precise running around this place.
Yeah, you really do. Obviously, the road course that we're currently running on is kind of a new one. It hasn't been the same layout over the course of time. So this is one that's kind of been designed in cooperation with Tony Kanaan, who knows his way around Indianapolis pretty well. So had a hand in Panero now coming into the pits out of the lead. So he's going to make an early stop here and go ahead and get his done. And we'll see if that causes a reaction here with the rest of this top 4. So Jake Williams now inheriting the lead, Schramm in second, Al Shutwi in third. And they were pulling away from Adam Bradshaw Jr., who's now falling into the grips of Hugh Simpkins. So going to be a battle for the Spec 2 class lead here in short order.
You know, looking at Panero coming down pit lane, I was wondering whether anybody else would follow him, as it turns out they have, in the form of Jason Green, Scott Russell, Josh Justice, Brad Cathcart coming down pit lane here too. I was thinking if he was alone in that pit call, he'd probably be done for, but we'll have to see whether that, for lack of a better term, the yoinky spelunky pit call there from him will actually work out well. Hey, I've seen Stranger Things. I don't even have a Netflix account. Top 3 still out there on the racetrack, though. Gotta wonder if they will maybe shadow in that call as well. You know, Charles, earlier on today, we were covering the Formula Fords running at Phillip Island. That broadcast also made possible by the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group, and they had some pretty odd pit calls in that race as well. So maybe just a double feature of some odd pit lane decisions.
Yeah, I think, maybe the undercut's going to work here. I'm just kind of thinking about how this is all working as we're going to get a replay here. I think this is Paul Jackson and the 627 car of Diego Todeschini, and Paul Jackson just running wide there in that corner. And takes his path through the gravel and then onto a part of the parking lot. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe where the haulers are parked. But that was a very circuitous route there for Mr. Jackson.
I like the use of the word circuitous. The last big word I learned like that was mayonnaise. Jake Williams has come down pit lane here from the race lead, along with Jason Dunnington and Dirk Braun. So the pit stops have been broken up ever so slightly, kind of just describing the way this field has developed here in this race. We saw that opening lap schmozzle, to invoke a little bit of 1960s radio diction. And ever since then, it's basically been, I wouldn't say every man for himself, but like, every click for themselves. It reminds me like of a high school cafeteria. There's little cliques. Everybody has their own little group that they sit at the same table with. And if you're just the odd man out, you're probably going to be eating your lunch by the vending machine.
Yeah, maybe so. As we see Brad Cathcart with a black flag. Maybe incident points. It would not surprise me, but we'll see. I know he's had contact, so he's had at least one 4X. So it could be that he's already kind of exhausted his limit of off tracks or incident points and is going to have to come down for a drive-through, or, he's just coming into the pits now. He's already been in once, so that might be a speeding penalty as well. So we'll have to see if this is just a drive-through for Brad. As we're back on board here, as we see Dirk Braun exiting out in 18th, coming out after his pit stop. He's going to be right in front of Scott Russell and Josh Justice, who now has his car fully repaired. So he's back up to speed, and he is still hanging on there. Him and Scott have been kind of tied together here for the better part of this race. And so it looks like they're going to be running together here for a bit longer, as we now see Justice maybe going to try and push for a position change, taking it to the inside there, coming down into 5. And I think he's got that just about pulled off. He does indeed. So give Josh Justice P19 as more cars in. Josh Wilkie now in the pits. So coming out and getting his pit stop done, as well as Diego Todeschini. That's just allowing Marco Pinero to move up the grid unencumbered as he's back up now to P12.
Yeah, so Todeschini following Wilkie in the pits. I'm going to keep my eye on the pit stop times here for Josh. I'm not saying that I don't trust Josh's timing down pit lane. As contact hang off through turn number 1, Jake Williams involved in that disaster breaking out. And that was contact with a lap car. That's going to allow Marco Pinero to cut his way through all of that. Huge moment for Williams. That's going to hurt him out big time. Was able to exit out in front of Pinero. That's going to close that gap up real quick. That right there was the contact. Who's that car up in front? I've seen that car be involved in a couple of incidents here in this race. It's Steve Saunders.
Steve Saunders.
He has been through the ringer so far here in this race. I think he's had like 5 separate incidents that he's either been involved in, not really his fault in any of them, just bad circumstances more often than not.
Yeah, so now Jake's got a messed up front end. He's already had his pit stop done, and so that's going to probably help. Yeah, so looking at his pit time, 9.98. So he ran the 100 basically as he's a sub 10 second. So he did obviously is a not only a candidate for getting past here, but a Thompson Trophy candidate as well. So he makes his way around Brad Cathcart with a very, very short pit stop. I mean, it's 4 seconds quicker than everybody else. So Jake trying to play the short fuel card, and what we'll see is he's going to end up getting past here and kind of ride behind Pinero as long as he can to try and save fuel.
So, before that incident took place heading down to turn number 1, I was saying that I was keeping an eye on Josh Wilkie's pit times. Not saying that I don't trust Josh, as there's Pinero getting that move done to turn number 1. Not saying that I don't trust Josh. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not that I don't trust him. It's just that I can't fully trust him. That's pretty much how it goes with his pit stops. Black flags aplenty throughout the field. Paul Jackson with a black flag. Brad Cathcart with a black flag. Black flags have been aplenty so far here in this race. Would not be shocked if we have more black flags later on because of incident points, as that right there was 3 wide racing between Scott Russell, Josh Wilkie, and Josh Justice. Justice with that pit stop, able to get that car repaired, so no longer with the air conditioning mod. But strangely enough, he was getting overtaken less into turn number 1 when he had the front end damage. Now that it's repaired, he's getting overtaken more.
Yeah. Scott Russell has gotten back by him, and now Wilkie's in the mix. They're dropping Dirk Braun, so I'm not really sure. Dirk not having the greatest of days here as Josh Wilkie's looking to the inside, trying to get that position, and Justice is going to go with him. So Josh and Josh as Justice pulls back, says, nope, I'm not going to have enough room. Wilkie makes it through. And then Justice with a nice run on the inside there as Wilkie maybe pushed Scott Russell off the racing line just a little bit. No contact, but just forced Scott to run a little wider, and that allowed Justice to sneak in and make that pass again and allowed Dirk Braun to close up the gap a little bit more. And looking at Josh's lap time there, Josh Wilkie's pit time, 16.2. Not the slowest, but not the fastest by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, so it's an okay stop. It's not too disgustingly horrific in either direction. So we'll see if it can work out here at the end. But here is the situation report here in this race. Nathaniel Schramm is still your race leader. Solau Shotwe directly behind. The gap has rarely, if ever, wavered from the half-a-second boundary that is at right now. Adam Bradshaw Jr. still putting together a very good race, although Hugh Simpkins only 4/10 behind, so that battle could get intense a little bit later on here. Antonio Reese is your leader in the Masters category. In this battle of the drivers that came down pit lane is still absolute madness. It's Josh Wilkie over Scott Russell, over Josh Justice, over Dirk Braun. Had to worry about the exiting car of Paul Jackson, who just came out of the pit lane there after serving his penalty. They got a clean, heading their way through the chicane. You know, we nearly saw it go down in the IndyCar race yesterday. Do we see drivers go side by side heading off through that chicane to try and get a move done? That is a question that I have in my heart. And if we do see that, how quickly does a driver hit a wall?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't know that we're going to see it. I think the play is just to get the best run you can, try and use the draft down that little straightaway to make the pass. But you know, when things get tight, people make decisions that aren't always the best, and so we'll see what happens there. Is now Jake Williams, even with a damaged front end, fastest lap of the race, sitting behind Marco Pinero. So those cars are on the move in a hurry. Still have several cars yet to pit. Top 7 still yet to come in. I think Paul Jackson, just looking at his pit time, was a speeding on pit entry. As we're going to get a look here at John Vogel making his way down the front stretch into turn 1. And we see something very similar to what we've seen before here, as he just missed his braking point completely and runs it a little deep and comes back onto the track. Obviously, we don't have the escape road in play here, so all's fair. Rejoined nicely, nobody around him, so able to get back on the track. Still running in P21. So just, you know, so far so good as far as the front group goes. We see Adam Bradshaw Jr. now making his pit stop, so he's coming in. Now we're going to move Antonio Reese up to P4, still riding behind the big gap there from P2 to P3 as this battle continues on, and now they've got Jason Dunnington involved in it as well.
Again, 5 Spec Racer Fords into turn number 7 with not a lot of gap between any of them. Josh Wilkie able to break out there into the top running spot of this little train here. Jason Dunnington directly behind. Always keep an eye on that Jason Dunnington car. A rather striking livery there, but nothing can beat the Mr. Joshua Wilkie car there. The TW3 paint scheme there. You got the Whiplash sim cams, our camera provider here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Have our fair share of SMB and Ray Esports and SRG logos there. I am sure it's everything that you want here on a race car is there on Mr. Wilkie, and we always love seeing some TW3 paints out there. Dan Szynski, who is a sponsor of the Formula V show yesterday here on SMB, is actually running in a TW3 car as well. So love to see some nice little paint schemes out there from our old pal Tom Wentz, a driver that we get to see run in some action here on SMB occasionally, primarily in the American Muscle Series, which will be coming back here soon on the channel in the not too far off future. I think they'll be aiming for a start around June, from everything that I heard, right towards the end of that season. But in the meantime, still got a lot of Spec Racer Ford action between now and then. And here it is right now. The Josh Wilkie, Jason Dunnington, Josh Justice, Scott Russell, Dirk Braun, just a lot of drivers covered by nothing. They're still going to battle. It's a Spec Racer Ford race. They're going to throw everything at the kitchen sink.
Yeah, they are indeed. I don't think that candy company is going to use "Barf the Rainbow" as their tagline anytime soon. But
Puke the
still a
rainbow,
nice looking
taste the
livery.
rainbow.
Yeah, is "Taste It Again" is that from Jason Dunnington. So anyway, but still lovely livery. It's fun. I like it. It's you can make yours look any way you want, and that's what he chose, and he's happy with it, and so am I. So as we're back up to the front of the field here with Schramm and Al-Shutwi, we're at the 25.5-minute mark of the race. So probably 5 minutes or so before we start seeing these front drivers having to come in and get their fuel, get their stop done. Just kind of looking at the times, I think that, looking at Pinheiro and Williams 43 seconds back, that's going to be really close to what these guys are doing. And it's about a minute 5 or so from cone to cone. Obviously, you're still running at some pace for most of that. So it's going to be real interesting to see where these cars come out once they get their pit stops done.
And so still waiting to see those drivers come down pit lane. Probably the most disjointed pit stops that we've seen in a while. Usually it's just like a just never-ending trickle. It's like a leaky faucet of drivers coming down pit lane instead of a full-on flood. Now we're going to have one more. Actually, the mediator in all of that is your third-place runner of Antonio Reese coming down pit lane here. So he'll be joined in the pits by Phil Berry. So 2 more drivers breaking away and coming down pit lane. We'll have to see if Adam Bradshaw follows in soon. We want to give some love to him and Phil Berry at the moment. 13 and 11 spots gained since the drop of the green. Real impressive stuff there. We've seen some pretty good drives peeking through the smoke and the chaos. There have been many a racer to really impress so far here in this event. And although those position gain numbers were temporary, as they're now dropping down the running order as they've both come down pit lane, still worth applauding regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. As Pinheiro now with the fastest lap of the race from the front of that 2-car pack. So he's reset the fastest lap, and you can see the gap there to Antonio Reese, who was running up in the top 5. But, he was about 18 seconds or so off of that group in the front. So we'll see where they kind of shakes out, and he's on pit exit now. So once we get a time there, 20 seconds the gap. So yeah, it's going to be probably not as close as I thought it might be. I don't know. We'll see how this works. This may be a Marco Pinheiro, Jake Williams fight to the finish. Is now Schramm coming into the pit, so we're going to find out very, very soon.
And so Schramm breaking away, Al-Shutwi left out all by his lonesome, and now we're gonna get put on. Now we're gonna see put on full display exactly how well those top 2 were able to work together, try and pull that gap between themselves and Pinheiro. Keeping an eye on that duo of Marco Pinheiro and Jake Williams. Where are they at there on the racetrack? They're not too far away from the end of the lap. Yeah, there they are, heading their way off through the fiddly final part of the lap. Meanwhile, Nathaniel Schramm still trundling his way, just finally ended up in his pit stall right there. It is a thunderously long pit lane here. Josh Justice with the black flag, just as we're saying that. It is a stupidly long pit lane, so that's going to sting for Justice. That's going to make it a tough call here for Schramm, who's now on pit exit. Will he be able to come out with the race lead? He has to wait forever until he hits that pit lane speed limit line, which is finally there, but too late, too little, too late. Pinheiro and Williams get ahead, and even with that shorter run through turn 1, oh no, Pinheiro overshot the turn a little bit. He chokes it, and now Jake Williams going to get past, and that brings Schramm right back into the fold.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be, that's closer than I expected, as these cars are pretty much nose to tail. There's a little bit of a gap, but nothing that a little bit of draft is not going to solve. Is Josh Justice now coming into the pit lane? I was wondering, Josh had already had more damage on the front of his car, so his is going to be at least two 4Xs for contact. And so I'm just guessing that he just made a mistake in one of the corners, and it just was enough to trigger his drive-through penalty, as these cars still doing battle and still one car left out there. So Al-Shutwi still yet to pit. He's got to be coming in pretty soon, because we're at almost the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a pit stop here soon for Al Shutwi. I know at this point he was kind of forced into a bad hand of having to run a different play call. He's at the start of his 18th lap right now, so he has to come down pit lane here. It's actually start of his 19th lap. Pardon me. That's you could tell that I wasn't too great in math class. I saw some bad math related trump. Why did they put me in Algebra 1 for 3 separate years when I was meant to be in geometry and calculus? I was in 12th grade and they decided to put me in a pre-algebra class. Okay. Marco Pinero, now your race leader, although Nathaniel Schramm and Jake Williams are still right around him. Williams with a bad run, hang down that start finish straightaway, gonna get his doors blown off, drops down to what will be net P3, we believe, here in this race, unless Sulal Shutwi can work off a miracle, which, considering he is out there all by himself at the current moment. Again, I've seen stranger things, and I don't even have a Netflix account, but that would be pushing it.
Yeah, it's he's running it to the end, and I still think Jake maybe is okay with running in third for the time being, trying to save fuel. And here comes Al Shutwi in at the 31-minute mark of the race to come in and get his fuel stop done. So here we go. So battle on, and Al Shutwi needs to come in, have a really quick stop, and get back out there. Oh, 2 more black flags.
Oh, a wonderful duo, and
Yep.
that's what did it. Yep, there's the black flag. It was contact heading off through turn number 1, and I believe that's an immediate Alt F4 from Mr. Wilkie. Punches out. Dirk Braun, yet again, drama breaks out for him here in this race. We're going to take a look at that replay here in a few moments' time. Al Shutwi, you can see him trundling his way down pit lane here. Again, it is just such a disgustingly long pit lane here at Indy. It takes up, I would say, probably about a full 20 to 25% of the entire racing surface. Is absolutely huge. But Al Shutwi still down in pit lane. He's in his pit stall right now. Now, considering he's the last to pit, he could pull off something interesting, and he has 11.4 seconds stopped in the pit stall. Having to wait, though, very easy to pick up a pit lane speed penalty, but he doesn't. He avoids it. He gets out in front, but now look at that pack right behind Nathaniel Schramm, Marco Pinero, Jake Williams already worked up to speed. Al Shutwi gonna punch out into that race lead, a full second quicker on the pit stop than everybody else as those drivers continue to battle.
Yeah, Schramm on the inside there kind of got a little wide coming out of 1 through 2, but able to hang on. And here we're going to get our pit stop times, and you see the gaps there. 11.4 for Al Shutwi, 12.6 for Schramm, 13.8 for Pinero, and then a 10.1 for Jake Williams, which I think is why he is in the back of his 3-car pack. So we'll see if he's able to get it to the end, if he's going to be able to do any kind of battling with these other cars here at the end of the race. But more pressing issues right now, this 3-car pack needs to work together to get back up to Al Shutwi, close that 2.5-second gap down.
As we take a look at this replay here to see what happened, Wilkie just overshot the turn a little bit. There's the contact, and then Dirk Braun. I think that was a mix of Dirk Braun trying to turn in and Josh just giving up. I think is probably the best way that I can sum that up. It's again talking about the awkward run through turn 1. You went down the inside, and again, you're breaking off. I don't know exactly what the banking is heading down into turn number 1 with the amount of history I know about this place. I should have that information already, but it's just enough whereby the cars are a little bit crooked. The weight transfer is a little bit off, and that braking zone very easy to lock up wheel. Unfortunately, that's exactly what took place there. There's a swapperoo. Pinero and Schramm once again squabble for second. But it all comes down to nothing because they have a 2.5-second gap to close up to get to Al Shutwi to grab the race win, and they don't really seem focused on that or don't really care.
No, there's two schools of thought with these cars in the draft. Is you can either do that elite frog maneuver as Pinero and Schramm did there, or you can just bump draft. I think I would probably want to do the bump drafting. I think that's just I think it's just a better but not in the braking zone there, Jake. So we don't want to do that. But I think I would probably try a bump draft and maybe get those cars connected together and pick up that extra time. But so far, what they're doing is not working. They haven't closed that gap down at all to Al Shutwi. So we'll see what happens this time if Jake is maybe willing to bump draft onto the back of Pinero. Those definitely looks like Jake Williams is willing to bum draft on the back of Schramm. So we'll see if they can get it together here as they are closing the gap down a little bit. There's a little bit of a little bit wide there by Al Shutwe, maybe cost him a tenth. But these cars need to get it together in a hurry. We don't have much time left, 5 minutes to go.
This is odd for me to say as somebody who is Gen Z, but to invoke a little bit of Gen Z terminology, it's at this point where these drivers really have to lock in, and they're not really able to do that. Although Panero was able to steal the fast lap of the race that Sulao Shutwe just set beforehand, it's not enough. You can see that gap is plateauing at 2.5 seconds. Are they maybe hoping that Al Shutwe runs out of fuel? Maybe, but if there's anybody that's going to run out of fuel in your top 4, it's Jake Williams, because he came down pit lane, and according to my live timing screen, which is a little bit different than the other way the graphics usually display, it was pretty much dead on at 10 seconds. It was 10 seconds and 7/100ths. So that is, unless you could have some major fuel saving, I really don't see a scenario in which Jake Williams can see the checkered flag. He's got a lot of drafting, but again, is that car going to be fueled by fumes, pixie dust, a hope and a prayer?
Hopium.
Like Coca-Cola? Hopium. Yeah, hopium. That is pure hopium.
So the gap is starting to close a little bit. It was, Al Shutwe had set the fastest lap of the race, and then until Panero came across the line, and it was 0.3 of a second. So it's not insignificant difference between those two cars. So now 2.2 as these cars, but I did notice that Schramm decided he did not want to push Panero. He just backed off and kind of rode behind, which I think is a mistake. I think these guys, as we are now down to 2.1, so maybe business is picking up here just a little bit in this second group.
Hey, maybe there is some method to the madness. I usually pick up on the method to the madness because I am a maniac, but I haven't been able to catch it so far. Maybe I just need a pitcher's mitt sewed onto my onto the brim of my hat. That could maybe help out matters. John Vogel just come down pit lane towards the tail end of the field. It's been a rough run for him here in this event. Overall, though, considering the chaos and carnage that broke out on the first lap and what has been a pretty rough race for some, the fact that we only have 3 drivers to this point that have dropped out of the race is a bit of a shock. Josh Wilkie, Brad Cathcart, Brendan Roseborough, that could be a whole lot worse.
Yeah, it could be. So we've had some spins and some contact, but overall, a pretty good race, especially up at the front. Obviously, that turn 1 at the beginning we kind of expected, but so far it's been a pretty good race. We've had a few cars out based on some frustration and some contact as well. But these cars here, once again, coming up on the banking to come down into this corner here, a little bit easier to deal with than turn 1. As they're just not able to make up the gap. It's still just 2.3 up to the front. So I don't know. I think we're going to be white flag this time, though.
Yeah, the white flag had one more lap of racing action here at Indy, and Al Shutwe has just checked out, continues to set personal best after personal best. That was a 137.1. He's not too far away from taking that fast lap. He may try and do it on that final lap, not really feeling any pressure from behind, as Panero, Schramm, and Williams still battle as if it is for the victory. It's for the victory in their own little battle, but not for the victory overall. The best they can get at this point is the final 2 spots on the podium. Still a good result either way, but Al Shutwe just played them like a fiddle here in this event. You can see as they head their way off through the chicane for the last time here in this race. Heading into turn number 7 here very soon. What's going to happen? Look at that. That's Jake Williams clearly not worrying about fuel, trying to make something work. What in the world maneuver is that? Pulls over onto the road. Contact made heading into the braking zone. He's going to pile in. Schramm going to slide past as Williams slides off the track. Panero avoids any sort of major disaster. P3 for him. I'm not sure what bonsai maneuver Jake Williams thought he was going to try and do there, but frankly, a driver like him should have known better than that. That was never going to work. in a million years. Sula Shotwi, though, in all of that, as there's a knife fight right behind him, he's been sitting in the cafe, sipping on a cappuccino, reading a newspaper, and getting some work done on his laptop. He's heading his way off through turn number 12 right now, only one turn away from glory and a 3-second gap at the end of this race. I had a feeling when he pulled into the pit that he was going to try and do something different. His hand was forced to try and do something different with drivers coming down pit lane and leaving him out for dry. But Sula Shotwi going to see that checkered flag to win here at the Brickyard.
Yeah, great race by Al Shotwi. Just played it perfectly, got a good quick stop, and got back out there, and cars behind just not able to catch him as we get Antonio Reese and Hugh Simpkins nose to tail here. This is going to be our Masters class winner and our Spec 2 class winner. So they're coming around to finish 4th and 5th overall. So another great run by Antonio Reese and a great run by Hugh Simpkins. And hey, how about that Adam Bradshaw Jr. running in basically been running here probably less than a full season, and getting himself a P2 in class and a P6 overall. So great run by Adam Bradshaw Jr.
Yeah, fantastic run for him here in this race, as Adam Bradshaw bet to complete your top 10 here, close between himself and Jason Dunnington at the end of this race, but he just gets the nose out there at the end. Close finish as well between Jason Green and Phil Berry that you saw there, less than a tenth between those drivers at the end of this race. I think we're going to have to take a look at several replays of that Shamazel hang down to turn number 7, because there's a lot going on there, a lot to unpack. It is a wide racing surface when you head your way through there. And as I said, that was the road. That's Holman Boulevard midway through the Speedway. That's usually just used as a little area to check tickets and figure out where cars need to park come time for the big race on the oval. I gave my 2 cents at the time, and of course, second chances are always good. Second glances are good as well, as Dirk Braun pulling off some sort of weird maneuver, hang down that start-finish straightaway. Gotta do some donuts here. So, actually, we may hold off on the replays, because I think I know what they're going to do. They did this in the V's a couple of weeks ago, and I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, here we go. We're coming around the oval. Don't think we're on the part of the track that they normally run, so we're just going to run a lap at Indianapolis in reverse. We're going to give them the old Alan Kulwicki victory lap here, as we're going to run backwards on the track, and let's see what they're going to do. Are they going into the wall here? We're going to wall ride? We're going to jump? What's going on here?
Oh,
here we go.
Oh! Oh, there's more. There's more coming in. Oh! That's Bradshaw. Oh! Oh, no! Oh, that was the hardest hit I've seen in a while. Intentional, obviously, but the hardest hit nonetheless.
Yeah, I think there's cars with some toe-in problems and some suspension failures, which is what happens. I have a little bit more to worry than that, if I'm honest. What happens when you run them head-to-head. But yeah, just we're going to break it down again, and as you see on the front of Jason Green's car there, it's fine. It's fine. As he's still pretty good pace here for 3 wheels. With one dragging the ground. Near miss.
And now heading your way off through turn number 3. Oh no, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop here, and it's probably going to drop directly on top of my head. This is.
Well, you don't want to wait long.
The crash physics in these cars are certainly interesting. Oh! How shot me? Where the hell did he come from? What the hell is going on? Okay, we're reeling this one back. What did he? Hang on. So it goes down on the infield through the warm up. We hit a.
He hit a car that had just exited the track, and iRacing hadn't caught up to it yet, and there he goes. So it was like he hit the car, even though the car wasn't there.
I have rarely been happier. Let's
So Here's the thing: is those two white lines are the track limits, and the car on the track is not obliged to give you racing room if you decide you're going to take it off track. I think that's the crux of it right there. And then Jake, I think maybe you realize that, but yeah, once you move off the racing surface, they don't have to give you room to get back on, and that's exactly what Jake was thinking. It was, I'm going to move back over, and Pinero was still there, and the contact was made. So I'm not a steward for this league, so I won't issue any penalties. But once again, I think if Jake rethought that, probably would not do that again.
Looking at that, I think it's two very, very smart drivers pulling some very, for lack of a better term, dumb maneuvers. I think Jake Williams should have known better than to go down there on the inside. It's not racing surface. It's road surface. That's about as dusty as an abandoned warehouse there on the inside. But Pinero definitely pulled off some blocks. They're reactionary blocks at that. So I have a feeling that in post-race review, both of those drivers are going to get told some very specific things that they probably, again, we talk about the heat of the moment decision there for the both of them. They're smart racers. They know what to do, but sometimes we all have our own brain farts. And, I have mine basically on a daily basis, considering I'm doing so many shows nowadays. But let's take a look at your race results, shall we? It's Sulal Shutwi. In all that chaos, he just checked out. He was your winner by 2.7 seconds. Nathaniel Schramm walks away with the P2. Fantastic result for a championship points leader, with Jason Green finishing a little bit farther back. I think he heads into the final 4 races of this campaign with a surefire chance of being your champion here. Marco Pinero rounds out your podium in 3rd. Antonio Reese will be your Masters winner, finishing directly behind them in P4 overall. Hugh Simpkins grabs the Spec 2 win in 5th. Do want to give the love to Adam Bradshaw Jr. Fantastic day for him here. Best starting spot I think I've seen for him, at least in quite some time. That was P10 for him at the start and P6 for him at the end, and he led for a while in that 205 car. Jason Green ends up in 7th. Phil Berry is in 8th. Chris Thorpe in 9th, with Adam Bradshaw Sr. completing your top 10.
Yeah, Jason Dunnington will finish in P11. Scott Russell in 12th. Marcus Burkett finishes in 13th. Rich Meesters in 14th. Diego Todeschini finishes in 15th. Alish Plava finishes in 16th. Josh Justice 17th. Dirk Braun 18th. Jake Williams in 19th. John Vogel finishes in P20. Paul Jackson in 21st. Steve Saunders 22nd. Josh Wilkie finishing in 23rd. Brad Cathcart in 24th. Brandon Roseborough finishing in 25th. And Joaquin Osbeck did not take the start, so he will be classified in P26.
I think I burst a blood vessel in my eye laughing at that Sulal Shutwi moment in the post-race schmozzle there. That's gonna be in my head for quite a long time. I can say that with confidence. But let's get the interviews up, rocking and rolling, shall we? I'm looking there in the booth here, and I think we're gonna run things a little bit different here, because I always give you the chance to interview Antonio Reese. I think I'll save him for me, okay. And I'll give you the opportunity to interview the other winners in Spec 1 and Spec 2, that being Nathaniel Schramm and Hugh Simpkins. That sound like a good deal? That's
a good deal. I like it.
I think we'll do that. Nathaniel Schramm, not your winner in Spec 1. Well, I did the same with Antonio earlier on here. I keep conflating. No, it was Alan DeGassis, I said. He was end up P2. So let's have a chat, shall we, with our championship points leader, the sponsor of next week's broadcast here, that being Nathaniel Schramm. I need to get my positions down here before we get these interviews up and rolling. Actually, no, Charles, I'm all over there. Let me try this one again. Let's move off into the interview, shall we? And Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our P2 finisher both in class and overall, that being Nathaniel Schramm.
Yeah, let's bring Nate in here and have a chat. Nate, congratulations on the P2. Pretty interesting race. Lots of different pit strategies, and you still all came together, and then a little bit of drama there on the last lap.
Yeah, it was definitely just keep on your toes and head on the swivel. Sewell did an amazing job fuel saving, and he must have just nailed that pit stop. even without my mistake, I think he was checked out when he came out. So that was really, really good by him.
Yeah, so it's been, I'm trying to think back. It's been a while since the SRFs have ran here, if at all. I think Ron said there might have been a few years ago. But so what were your thoughts about the track itself, and then the car track combination with the Spec racers running on the road course?
It was really good. The track was warmer than I was expecting, so I was lacking a lot in the twisty sections, like the chicanes. So yeah, Marco and the gang were all sort of gaining on me, but I was able to stay in the draft. That's the strength of this car. It's so draft happy. So, despite my little lack of pace there, I was able to keep up and stay in the fight. And I think we put on a decent show at the front.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Once we got through turn the first lap with a little bit of incidents there, otherwise pretty good race. Lots of good battles on the track. So next week you get to sponsor us, and we do appreciate a good sponsorship. And we're going to be at Barber Motorsports Park, which is my home track. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I missed Barber last time around. So this time I should be able to get there. And now we've got the new artwork on it. So it should look very good on the broadcast. Looking forward to actually turning some laps around there. And yeah, I'm happy to sponsor. It's been a while I've been running this league, so happy to throw some money and contribute.
Yep, absolutely. Completely agree. And we do appreciate it again. So we'll see you next week, Nate, but we'll let you have a chat with the Schrammers out there in the channel, because I know that there's going to be a few out there. So we'll let you give any thanks and shout outs.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I see Karkax and Kemper in there. Always good to see them support. And I know Selma wanted to be watching, but Karkax, she's a bit checked out from work. So that's all good. Hopefully something fun to watch back. But I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast as always. I'd like to thank my team, Three Oceans Racing, and our sponsors, Turner Machine Development and Gager and Sons Power Systems. And I'd like to thank the league for putting it on as always.
All right, Nate, thank you very much for stopping in. We'll see you next week at Barber Motorsports Park. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
See you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was Nathaniel Schramm. I try and rename him there. Our P2 winner, our P2 finisher today, and Ron. So we'll send it back to you here.
Yeah, and let me see if I can spit the words out in the right order this time around. That was let's have a chat, shall we, with our Masters winner here in this race, Antonio Reese, joining us here in the broadcast booth. Antonio, welcome in. Welcome back into the booth. It's been a shocking 2 hours since you were in the booth last. Well done on a pretty good Spec Racer Ford race. That looked like some fun out there.
Yeah, hey Ron, hey Guido, and Charles, and all the viewers, good night. Yeah, it was a nice race. It was a little bit messy on the first lap. I think there are some accident there. And then I somehow could avoid that for some reason that I don't know yet. But then I could keep driving, and then I have a relatively, oh my God, my English. Relatively good pace. I have a good setup, so I could somehow try to push. Then I was catching Josh and Bradshaw, and then on the pit when we go to change to put fuel, I gain a position for Bradshaw, but I was close to Josh until the end. We have a good race together. I was just missing Guido on the track. Yeah. Yeah, I miss you all the time.
Hearing a little set of love letters given back between Antonio and Guido there in the production truck. I remember early on in the Spec Racer Awards being here on SMB back when I first started to do these shows with Randall McGrew Guido was still out there on the racetrack before the meowing Mr. Thompson left broadcasting to go off and be a father. But Antonio, I do want to ask you about the next round of this championship here for the Spec Racer Fords. We're going to be running at Barber Motorsports Park next time out. What are your thoughts heading there?
Oh, I have to buy the truck. Yeah. Well, I have no idea. We will see.
I will say, as I was going to say, I will say in confidence that Charles will certainly encourage it because that is his hometown track.
It is.
Okay, nice, Charles. I will be happy to be there virtually near your house. No. I will check the Google Maps to see the Charles' house.
Yeah, about 20 minutes away. It's not that far. So right. Yeah, just hey, I'll have the barbecue ready when you get here. So
Okay, thank you.
Well, Antonio, it's good to see you out there on the racetrack. Good to have you here in the booth, and we'll let you give some more thank yous or shout outs after after asking you this earlier on here.
Yeah, all the guys, Steve Ray for first, and you guys on the booth, on the broadcast as well for the sponsor, the Sim Racing Group, I think, and as well for Sim Racing Group, right? And for the drivers, for the Weekend Warriors community, and all the guys watching on the YouTube, and was the Mother Day a few days ago, so it's too late to say a good words for all the mamas. But anyway, thank you guys for you, especially on the broadcast. You make a good show every time. I'm just going to watch now.
Yeah, we had a good time here on the channel. I can say that with confidence. Antonio, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you there hopefully at Barber next week.
Yeah, sure. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye.
You as well. That right there was Antonio Reese, our Masters winner, and Charles was able to get through that interview in its entirety without my tongue getting wrapped around my teeth there. So we're now on a streak of about 5 minutes. So I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with you, Simpkins, so my streak can stay alive.
There you go. Let's bring Eust in here and have a chat. Eust, congratulations, S2 class winner, P6 overall. So congratulations on a really good race today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really happy with the result.
Yeah. So how did you enjoy the car track combo here at Indy with the Spec Racer?
Oh, it's a really quick track, and there's a lot of drafting, and Spec Racer car is really well suited for that. So I really enjoyed that. And I had the luck that I was behind a few really fast guys, so could lay low a bit, save some fuel, and in the end that was enough to pass Bradshaw Jr. So I was really happy with the result there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of this was just maybe avoiding incidents, and I think that was a big reason that you finished as well as you did, because there were several during the course of this race.
Yeah, I qualified quite well. It was just behind Josh, and going into lap 1, turn 1, I got rear-ended, so I was a bit unlucky to get some damage there, but I was really lucky to avoid the pile-up resulting from that. So I could quickly move around and move on with the race. Sorry for Josh that he got damage there, and we couldn't fight it on the track.
Absolutely. And so next week we'll be at Barber Motorsports Park. So what are your thoughts about the upcoming race there?
Haven't given it much thought yet, but looking forward to the track. I like the track. It's quick. It's got a nice flow to it. So we've got all the week to prepare for the race there.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations again on your class win, and we'll give you a chance to give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Okay, thank you. Shout out and thanks to the community, to you guys doing a terrific job with the live stream. It's fun to watch back as well. I heard Antonio thank all the modders. I'll accompany him with the compliments to the modders for being able for us to enjoy this this evening race. And big thanks to the community, as I said. Really big fun showing up every week and have fun with the guys here.
All right, well, thank you again for stopping in, and we'll see you next week at Barber Motorsports Park.
Sure will. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that right there was Just Simpkins, your Spec 2 winner here in this race. You know, Charles, I'm not really sure if we knew what to expect heading off into this race here. Spec Racer Fords, they always put on a pretty good show. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, kind of 50-50. I would say that we got treated to a pretty good race. A little bit of chaos, really intriguing strategy, and some good racing out there on the track as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was obviously just come from watching, as you said, watching the Grand Prix. There's things that you just kind of expect here when you're racing it on the road course. We got a little bit of that, but we also got some really, really good battles on track, which is what we always see with the Spec racers. And so looking forward to next week as well, as these cars, we'll get all those cars that were, banged up. We'll get all those fixed and we'll be ready to start again next week.
Yeah, and Barber, next time out, we'll be broadcasting. Our thanks to Nathaniel Schramm for making that show possible. And our thanks to the Sim Racers Group for making the other shows possible here. They have a brick and mortar location in San Jose. You can catch all the action from the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 and Formula 3 series on Tuesday and Wednesday nights here every single week on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Running to the iRacing official schedule, we've got some awesome racing action there week in and week out. As Antonio said, and as we've said a decent amount through the action here, as my harmonica falls from one area of my desk to the other, so the harmonica actually scaring me instead of me usually scaring other people with a harmonica. But that harmonica, I think, is actually haunted. I'll have to get that thing exercised somewhere. But as Antonio said, and as we have said throughout the show, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And we hope you have enjoyed the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. If you have enjoyed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on the racing action. If you want to know how to broadcast your iRacing event or your league here on SMB, you can get in contact with us on www.slowmotionbroadcasting.com. As mentioned a few moments ago, we have a lot of amazing racing action week in and week out, along with the Weekend Warriors in all their forms, whether it be the Spec Racer Fords, the Formula Vs, or the Formula Fords. We also have the F4 and F3 series from Sim Racers Group, as well as the Grand Prix Tour returning here to Slow Motion Broadcasting in just about a week and changes time. That'll be not this upcoming Monday, not tomorrow, but next week after that. So a lot of good actions to look forward to, as well as at the end of this month, the Adam W. Step Memorial Mustang GT3 race. Charles, he'll be out there on the racetrack for that event. Sim Racers Group will be one of the presenting partners, along with Ray Esports and the wonderful community that we have here of drivers, series admins, and series here on SMB. But after this broadcast here for round number 8 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Indy, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.